It's a blowout. 8th inning, 10-3. Bases are loaded for Verlander, who waits on a 3-0 pitch. He swings, and it's a high fly ball. Deep center field. It is gone. Home run. And a huge bat flip to celebrate. All right, Ben, start the show already.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Flippin Bats with your host, Ben Verlander. Another exciting week of baseball. We got the storylines, as always, that we'll get to. We also have our special guest, Astros outfielder Kyle Tucker. And then the hotline questions, where you guys call in, give me all those questions. And we have another segment. We sent out a poll to you guys this weekend on the Flippin Bats social handles about the best American League pitcher. So we'll touch on that. Of course, the Shohei Ohtani segment. And it's the first week of the month, which means we'll talk about my power rankings, the MLB top 5 power rankings, and of course, the 6-tool player of the week. So we got a lot to get to this episode. Let's get right to it. Let's talk about some storylines from this past week. And a really important one I want to get to is the San Francisco Giants. The San Francisco Giants played at Los Angeles this weekend against the Dodgers. And look, the Giants have sort of flown under the radar in the eyes of a lot of people this year as a team that's kind of just where they are. You know, maybe they've gotten lucky. They probably shouldn't be here. I'm here to tell you that the Giants are here to stay. The Giants are a good baseball team, and it's time they get the credit they deserve. This team goes into Los Angeles this past weekend for a big series against the Dodgers, who had just swept them at their own home. So everybody's kind of thinking, see, here it goes, here it comes. And then they go into Los Angeles and they play great games against the Dodgers, all of them. So this is less about the Dodgers not looking good and more about the Giants getting the respect that they deserve. One of the games this past weekend was incredible. Albert Pujols hits a ball deep left field. Looks like it's going to be a walk-off, and Mike Togman out in left field robs a walk-off homer from the machine, Albert Pujols, and they end up winning it in the 10th inning. Just an incredible series, and I am here to say the San Francisco Giants deserve your respect and are here to stay. This whole division has been Dodgers, Padres, Dodgers, Padres. But these Giants, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in this division, and I think they proved that this past weekend in Los Angeles. And we also had Mike Yastrzemski during one of the games this past weekend. A really cool moment, giving a ball to a little kid, and in a group full of a bunch of Dodger section, in a Dodger section, gives the ball to a kid, and he is so excited, and the whole section's excited. He's fist bumping people. He goes to whisper in the person next to him's ear and tries to hand the ball to somebody else. Just a really cute moment, and Mike Yastrzemski, good moment there. Something else that happened this week, and this was probably the biggest news, or the biggest storyline of the week, or the most talked about at least, was Javi Baez and the Chicago Cubs. Javi Baez hits a ball to third base, routine ground ball. Third baseman comes up, throws to first. It's a little bit up the line. He goes to tag him. There's 2 outs, and Javi Baez, instead of just running through the tag, decides to turn around and run home. Run back home. So instead of just tagging first base like he should have done, Javi Baez runs back home. The first baseman runs after him. There was a runner on second that came all the way around to score. Javi Baez, standing a foot from home plate, goes, "Safe!" and then realizes, oh God, I got to get to first base. Takes off running to first, dives in safe. The ball goes into the outfield. He ends up on second base. Now look, obviously it's a big defending blunder. That's what a lot of people were saying. It's a big defensive blunder. I don't care. This is still incredible base running that he was even able to do that. The fact that he even thought to do this makes this an incredible base running play and just an insane play. It's so insane and so awesome, and we'll be talking about it all year, I think. And speaking of the Chicago Cubs, they're hot. The Chicago Cubs are really, really hot. So I wanted to bring in somebody that covers the Cubs. Herb Lawrence joins me today. Herb, what's up, man? Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me on, Ben. It's awesome to be here.
Of course, man. Thank you. So one thing I wanted to ask you about this team is, coming into the season, we didn't really know where this team stood. You know, they get Darvish is gone, Schwarber is gone. So it was kind of like, is this team going to go for it, or is this team on the edge of falling apart and becoming a totally rebranded team? So from your eyes, did this team think that they were going to, obviously they think they're going to compete, but did they think they were in position coming into this year to win the division and have a team that pushes towards the playoffs?
Jed Hoyer and David Ross said all those things. They're like, yeah, we lost some players, but we're here to compete for the NL Central. One last go around with the core four. So, yeah, they thought they were going to compete this year in the NL Central. Most Chicago and most Cubs fans are like, no, you gave away your best pitcher. Kyle Schwarber is a 40 home run guy in a 162 season. So what are you going to replace those home runs? So this is a very surprising start for the Cubs to be this close to first place.
You mentioned the core four and how they said this is kind of the last run with this team. If they continue on this pace, and they're coming off an incredible week, have won 6 of their last 7. They're playing great. Chris Bryant's having an MVP type resurgence type of year. If they continue on this path, what do you do with this core? Like, is it possible to keep them together if they prove this year we can win with this core of guys?
I think that is the only reason why, the only thing the Cubs have to do. They have to go with this team going forward, especially the core four, because they're too far gone. They're competing right now in the NL Central, a pretty solid team, and there's not going to be a trade at the deadline. So you're going to have to decide. I don't know if they can get all 4 back, but 3 out of the 4 have to come back, and the main one has to be Chris Bryant, because as you said, he's having an MVP type season. He was your rookie of the year. He was your MVP in his second year, won the World Series. He is the most valuable player in my eyes, probably in the National League, because of his versatility and what he does with the bat too. Like, he's played multiple positions and none more than 15 times and none less than 5. So he's played center, right, left, third, first, and he's played them all more than 5 times. This guy is a star, and Cub fans, it's like a polarizing thing with him. Some of them love him, some of them hate him, and I never understood that. He is a absolute star that needs to be re-signed. I know it's going to be prohibitive to sign him back because he's going to make some good money because he's having a great year, but they have to do it.
Yeah, it seems like these guys are putting pressure on the front office. Look, this is what we know we can be. This is the core of your team, the Chicago Cubs, and we're playing great baseball, and we deserve to get paid. And it looks like that's maybe what they're heading towards is, they're having great years. And you look at Javi Baez having a year that we all knew he could have. He's capable of putting up power numbers and bunches. He's capable of being the best defender in baseball, and he's having that sort of year. But I feel like the Cubs are such an interesting team, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but if at any moment this goes south and they go on a big losing streak right before the deadline, this team could be totally different, right? There's 3-4 pieces, big pieces that could be gone if they start to struggle.
I think if an injury happens, like Chris Bryant goes down or one of the other big-time bats go down, then you can see a struggle for the Cubs. I don't see them with the core four and all the rest of the players like Matt Duffy, Bodie, and the guys playing poorly up until the trade deadline for them to precipitate them being a seller. So, yeah, possibly if one of them or multiple people get hurt, they could change course. But I think since we're at the beginning of June right now, it's going to be really tough for them to fall out, especially, you have that wild card going on right now. The NL Central is not that great. No one's going to run away and hide from you. So I think only in an injury will they be a seller this year.
So you think buyers, and are you thinking a pitcher somewhere? Like, just get a pitcher that we can use and let's make a run at this.
Yeah, because you've had inconsistent starting pitching. Trevor Williams has been good, and then sometimes he's only pitching 4 innings. You had your ace of the team, Kyle Hendricks, struggled mightily for 3 or 4 starts, and now he looks like he's back to the Kyle Hendricks that everybody loves and knows. So, yeah, you need a guy in the starting rotation, maybe not a top of the rotation guy, but a person that you can say, hey, here's 5 innings, here's 3 earned runs, go get him bullpen. Because the bullpen, surprisingly to me, has been really solid.
Yep, I totally agree. The resurgence, it's almost like we're getting Atlanta Braves Craig Kimbrell again. It's honestly been, and I like Kimbrell, and he's had his issues over the past few years with command and all that stuff, and it's honestly feeling right now like when Craig Kimbrell comes in the game, lights out, game over.
Yeah, when he got signed initially, he was the best closer statistically in Major League Baseball history. Then when he struggled, I was like, oh my goodness, this is bad. I was reminded of, I think it was Greg Holland, who signed late in the season with St. Louis that year, and it was horrible, abysmal. I think it was 2018. They released him. He went to the Nationals. He was rediscovered. I think that's the same thing that happened with Kimbrell, where he signed late in the season, didn't have a spring training and didn't really perform. And now I think David Ross did a great job of just getting him in the game last year and get him some positive reinforcement. Okay, you got through this inning. Good job. I'm going to take you out before you get in too much trouble. This year he's come back and he looks like the guy that has the confidence of, hey, I'm the best guy out here. There's no better closer out here in the history of the game. And I'm going to throw you this nasty fastball. I'm going to throw you this curveball and you're not going to hit it. I think confidence in a pitcher is much more valuable than stuff, because if you know and you think that people can't hit you, that goes a long way. And I don't never pitch in the major leagues, but I see all the pitchers who are at the top of their game. They do have premium stuff, and everybody mostly in the major leagues has premium stuff, but it's those guys that have that confidence, that have that knowing vision, like, you're not going to hit me, and if you do, it's going to be right to my fielder. So see yourself onto the bench.
Of course. Hey, Herb, thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate it. I'm going to have you back at some point. We'll talk some White Sox. We'll talk Cubs. I don't know, but thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate it.
Ben, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Of course, man. So he said something there that I really think is true. And I've talked about it a lot. Confidence is so big in baseball, and when it comes to hitting and when it comes to pitching. I talk about it a lot. And it seems the Cubs are playing with a lot of confidence. And he talked about it with Kimbrell, and he talked about something that I think is big for this team, and it's David Ross. And he said when Kimbrell was struggling, or when he'd come out of a game and do well, he would get that pat on the back. He would get that, hey, good job. We needed you there. Way to get through it. And obviously, then he's doing that to all of these guys. David Ross knows how important it is, how important accountability is, how important confidence is in baseball. And I feel like he's the perfect guy, and he is the reason that a lot of confidence is coming back into these players. And the Cubs, man, they're playing great baseball. So thanks again to Herb for joining me. But now let's move on to our guest this week, Astros outfielder Kyle Tucker. Kyle, thank you so much for joining me, my man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Of course, dude. All right. As with everybody, we have a leaderboard, trivia questions right off the top. You got 60 seconds to answer as many as you can, and we'll see where you can get on our leaderboard. You ready?
All right, let's go.
All right. Who was your first career home run off of?
Marco Gonzalez.
Yes. Who was your first career hit against?
Like, I know everything about him from his hand.
First career strikeout against?
Shield.
Yes.
James Shield.
Where did you bat in your major league debut in the lineup?
7.
Yeah. Your jersey number in your MLB debut?
3.
Yes. Who did you bat behind in your debut?
Carlos?
No, Max Stassi. Where was your first away game in the big leagues?
Seattle?
Anaheim. Who were the 2 starting pitchers in your debut?
For us? Oh, I don't know. I know theirs was Shields. I don't know, Keuchel?
No, Morton. All right. That's it. Good. All right. So the first career hit was Bruce Rondon.
Yeah, that's
Bruce
right.
Rondon, who
3-2 slider. I know that hit to first and it tipped off his glove.
did you crush it?
I know that.
Bruce Rondon, when I first saw this, I didn't even know. I guess it was like a short stint in with the White Sox, but that dude came on the scene throwing like 110 miles an hour when he first came up. I was like, oh my god.
Oh
that
yeah,
good.
Yeah, he was tough. I remember I was in a 3-2 count and he threw me a slider and I was like kind of freaked out and I hit it off the front. And then it tipped off his glove at first and went into right. So I was like, oh, thank God.
Woo. All right, Kyle. So first so we kind of have a similar thing in that you have an older brother that is also pretty good at baseball. So I wanted to ask you, because my brother's 9 years older than me, and yours is, I believe, 6, so definitely older. But I wanted to figure out the dynamic, because for me, it was almost like Justin's so much older than me that it was almost like growing up, like I looked up to him and wanted to be where he is. With you guys being a little bit closer, was there a lot of competition? Was there a lot of envy of where he was? What was that dynamic like between the two of you growing up?
It was more so like you and Justin. Yeah, he's about 6-7 years older than me, and I would always want to kind of play at the level that he was playing at because it's my older brother. I wanted to play with him more often, and I think it was good for me because when I was younger, I would always watch him in high school and in college, pro ball, and I always wanted to play at that level and just play like at the level that they are, even though I was 6 years younger. So I think having him being older definitely helped me out, and I definitely looked up to him and tried to play, just like him, even though I was at a younger age.
Right. So he ended up going to Florida. You committed there, and then obviously got drafted 5th overall. What was that decision like for you? Was it did you know immediately, if I get drafted in the top, in the top 10 picks, I'm going to go? Or was it a tough decision for you whether to sign or to go to school?
I mean, you never know really how the draft is going to work out because there's so many moving parts. But I mean, my family's pretty like school oriented. My parents would always like every time I came home, like we weren't allowed to play video games at all during the week. Like we had to make sure we get our schoolwork done, and we had to have good grades in school so we could play sports. And that was kind of like their main goal growing up. They were like, they let us play sports and they let us have fun growing up and stuff, but it was more school oriented and just making sure that we were prepared for life, even though playing baseball is tough and not a lot of guys make it to the MLB. So it's always good to have like a little backup plan, but it's not always easy just bypassing college and going straight into a career from high school. But it's definitely I definitely enjoyed this experience so far, and I'm planning on playing a lot longer. So I'm happy with the decision I made. It was a good one.
I always wonder because, I ended up getting drafted out of college. So I get into pro ball at 21 years old. And for me, that jump from college, from D1 pitching to the pros is the biggest jump that I faced in my entire career, from a young kid to the end of my career. And I would always wonder, the guys that came out of high school, how you did it. Like, you're then going from high school pitching to professional pitching. So you're going from guys throwing 75 to guys throwing 100. And it's like, was there a big adjustment for you when you got to pro ball, when it came to hitting?
Yeah, it was definitely tough. I mean, I was 18 years old coming out of high school, and I'm playing with a lot of guys that, went to, whether it was JUCO or 3 or 4 years of college, they're roughly 4 to 6 years older than me. They've been away from home, going to college or whatever. Right. So it's definitely weird, just the fact that, I'm not playing like in my age range. anymore, and guys are a lot older and coming out of college. So I always like kind of looked up to them, and even though we were on the same team, we were all boys and stuff and having fun, but it was definitely a weird experience at first. Just you're traveling all the time, and you're now playing over 100 games. In high school we played like 20 to 30 games. I never played 130 games in a row before. So it was definitely life-changing experience, but it's been so much fun, and I've made so many different friendships and connections throughout this game. It's all been worth it.
So one thing that makes baseball so unique is that everyone goes through some sort of minor league experience. You look at other sports, and that's not necessarily the case. The best of the best can go straight to the top, and that's not the case in our sport. So I always ask people this question: what is like an experience or a story from your minor league days that you'll remember forever?
I mean, each level is different, just because, like more recently back in AAA, like you take 4 a.m., 6 a.m. flights, and then you play later that day. It's very tough because you get in at like 1 o'clock and you just go to the hotel, drop your bags off, go to the field and play. Like A ball, double A, we were taking like 15-hour bus rides before games. We'd play a night game and then just drive through the night, get there at like noon the next day, and then just go to the field and play. I don't know. There's so many different things, and they've all been. I mean, obviously, like you don't want to be taking that 16-hour bus ride before a game. I don't want to do that again. But it was definitely fun at the time. We would bring like consoles on the bus and play. Spend a lot of time playing cards and just having fun. And I think those are the most important things for us.
Yeah, they're definitely not. They're not like fun experiences, but they're experiences that you're glad you have later. Like I remember when I was in low A at the time, I was playing in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and the furthest team we had to play was in Bowling Green, Kentucky, the Rays organization. And we were playing there, and the last game, getaway day, was a night game. And we were talking like, why is this we have a 12-hour ride back. Why are you doing this? And they're like, oh, we have to have a certain amount of night games. This one just has to be the case. And obviously it goes into extra innings because that's just how it works. So it goes into extra innings. We don't get on the road until 12 midnight, and we pull back into Grand Rapids at like 11 a.m. the next day and had a day game and just had to strap it back on and get ready to go. And I feel like that in a nutshell is minor league baseball.
Yeah, I think we've had to push back and like delay a game like an hour because the team hasn't shown up
yet. So then you make it to the big leagues in 2018, and it's a little bit of a struggle for you at first. And baseball is so tough mentally. Like I feel like harder than anything because you're failing 70% of the time and you're considered great. So mentally, and for me, that was the biggest difference in every level I played at, was the mental aspect of it and the mental grind. And you really have to learn how to struggle, and it's not easy. When you got up, how much of it was mentally like a struggle and a battle for you, and how much of it was like physical and the swing and the pitching you were seeing?
I think at each level, whether you're going to like low A to high A, double A, triple A or double A to the big leagues, I think each level has some sort of adjustment that you need to make, just because, there's better players there, and, they're expecting a little bit more out of you and whatnot. But I think at the major league level, it's all about winning games, and whether you go 0 for 3, but you're, moving runners over, or you go stack line over, that's being productive. And, in the minor leagues, it's more of, developing and just getting better as a player, so you can help the major league team at some point. So I think I mean, obviously, in the big leagues, these are the best players in the world.
Yeah.
And, they're so good defensively at the plate, pitching wise. I mean, the ball's moving all over the place when guys are throwing the ball when you're in the box, and it's extremely tough. Like you're saying, we failed 70% of the time, and that you're one of the best in the league. So obviously, you never plan on struggling, and you never want to struggle, but we play so many games that it's going to happen at some point, whether it's for a month or a week or however long. You just got to mentally just grind it out, get through it, and find out what works for you to get out of it.
Dude, you talked about it, and nobody says this in the minor leagues and in the organization, and this was tough for me. It's not about the team in the minor leagues. No matter how much they say, we want you guys to win as a team, it's so individualized in the minor leagues and about your success. And then, yeah, I guess, like you said, when you get to the big leagues, it becomes about the team and winning as a team. So you get through your rookie year and then have a great year and have continued to play well in the big leagues. Was there something going into that offseason that you really focused on with your swing or switching things up, or did you just grind through it mentally and get to that next year and then took off as the player you knew you could be?
I know what I can play, what level I can play at, and how well I can do it. Even this year, my first month wasn't statistically like the greatest, but like I was still hitting the ball well, but I wasn't necessarily getting the results. But like that, you just got to grind through that. Just forget about like you're hitting it at people are getting out and whatever. I know what I can do out on the field, and I know a lot of guys in this league know that, and they go out there with that attitude that they're the best in the league, because when you're thinking that you're going to be playing at your best, and you just got to grind through the lows and try and get back to where you can play and where you're normally at. So I'm feeling good right now. We're playing pretty well, so I'm just going to try and keep it up.
This is the most important question I have for you all day. How do you hit without batting gloves? I cannot fathom it.
I don't know. Like, a lot of guys ask me that. I'm like, it's not that bad. It's really not. Like I was telling I've been telling Mike, I was like, Mike, can you play today without batting gloves? He goes, no. So like guys think it's like ridiculous how we don't.
It is ridiculous. It is, I guess you've like built it up, because do you use pine tar or anything?
I don't use like pine tar or like the sticky stuff, because I don't like my hands getting like super sticky. I just put some rosin on. I use like it's like the flex tape stuff that guys like typically like tape their wrists and feet or like ankles with. I just put that on my bat. So it's kind of like a grip, but it's like padded grip. And I just put some rosin on for dry out my hands and stuff. So I feel fine with it. It's normal. It doesn't hurt at all. I don't know. Like guys think that it's like ridiculously hard. I don't know. It's just how I hit.
I mean, you always hear stories of Moises Alou back in the day who did it, and he was like the one growing up that I would hear. Like, yeah, he hit with no batting gloves, but he would also get all these calluses, and he would like pee on his hands. Are you a big I'm gonna pee on my hands sort of guy?
No, I don't really get blisters or calluses really. Like I might get some like before spring training, like when I first like start hitting again,
ramping it back up,
coming back from off season. Yeah. But other than that, like my hands are fine. I don't understand like when guys don't like put any tape on, they just put a bunch of pine tar on the bat and swing without batting gloves. Then like my hands would be
raw,
destroyed if I did that.
Yeah,
I have to
absolutely.
put like that. I have to put a little wrap on it. Like I don't know how guys do that. That's crazy to me. But yeah, I'm all good.
Did you bulk up a little bit coming into this season?
Yeah. I came into spring training about about roughly 220 or so. I know like my baseball card and like on the, I don't know, the internet says I'm still like 199 or something.
It really undersells you. So I was
yeah.
watching a game earlier this year. Well, I watched a lot, and then was in Anaheim when y'all were out here, and I was like, wait, 190, 195 just doesn't seem right. So I didn't know if you like made a conscious effort this offseason to bulk up, or if that's just plain wrong.
No, I try and do that every offseason. Set a goal before the offseason starts. Like at the end of this year, like I set another goal and try and do it by the time spring training rolls around. But yeah, they have me like 20 pounds less than I actually am. I think they just throw like a rough estimate. I don't know. But yeah, I'm probably like 215 or so right now. Lost like a little bit of weight just from playing, every day. But yeah, I just set a goal every offseason, try and reach it by spring training and go from there.
What was it like now this is a tough memory for me as well. And in 2019, you got to play in a World Series, which is awesome. But, that series in itself was one of the most incredible World Series ever. It was incredible. What was it like for you getting to play in a World Series on the biggest stage in the world?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a different atmosphere just from being on the field. I mean, typically like we have like sold out crowds like and like they'll cheer and like situations and whatever's going on throughout the game. But in the World Series, it's constantly just like at the maximum volume, and everyone's got towels just like waving them around. It's pretty crazy because it's nonstop, just from the start to the finish. And we had it for the full 7 games.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like playing in those games is definitely like life changing. Like you definitely appreciate it, and it's a lot of fun to be out there.
Did you know that it's the only championship series in history that the home team didn't win a single game?
I know, I saw that. That was pretty crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, they won the first 2, then we won the next 3, and then they got it. But yeah, I was like saying that like halfway through, and I was like, this is weird. Like the home team hasn't won it. Yeah, I don't know how it worked out like that, but
what was the morale in the locker room leaving Washington, leaving DC? Because I mean, obviously I know it's high, but I was also there and traveling with you guys every step of the way. So leaving DC for me, especially with my brother on the mound and Garrett potentially on the mound at some point in the series, my thought was, you never want to count your chickens before they hatch, but I was feeling good. And in the clubhouse for you guys, is it like a now we're going home and we have to do it, or were you guys like, all right, we feel good about this?
We were confident in ourselves. I mean, even when we went down the first 2 games, we were never out of it. If you look at our pitching staff we had and our lineup, I mean, that we had some phenomenal players playing, and we were down 3 games, we could still come back and win the next 4. I mean, the team was so talented and special, and we were excited to get back and play in front of our home fans and potentially win it. But we were ready to play.
So you're what were you, 22 at that time, playing in the World Series? Yeah. So you're 22 years old playing in a World Series on a team with guys that are, it's a young core, but also some vets. And like, who on the team, especially in that's your first, full season, who would you like lean on and talk to a lot? And, who kind of did you lean on throughout the course of that year?
I mean, I was around like the outfielders, most of the time. Like in early work and BP and in the locker room, they would kind of section us like in our positions, kind of. So I mean, I would be around George and Red and Mike and just. I mean, for us, it was like we would treat it as like a regular game.
Yeah.
You don't have to put any more pressure or put any more whatever into it. You just got to go out there and play your game. And I look up to those guys, and they've been playing this game for a long time, and they've been playing at a high level. So I just looked up to those guys, watch them go about their business, and try and just learn things that'll help me as I grow.
Speaking of guys in the outfield, and when you say Houston Astros, you don't necessarily think this player, but talk to me about how incredible Yordan Alvarez is. I remember he comes on the scene and is just like, how is this guy doing this? I remember talking to my brother when he first came up, and he was like, one of the first games, he like sits back on a 3-1 changeup and lasers it the other way, and he's like, who is this guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first time I played with Yordan was in AAA, and I got to see him play every day from then on. But he's just one of those guys that just rakes up at the plate. I mean, I feel like as a pitcher, you would never want to like face him. I mean, I was looking at his career numbers the other day. He's hitting like 315 roughly, like as on his career, which is obviously like best in the game. I saw like he was the fastest. I don't know if in MLB or just the Astros, like 100 RBIs.
It's in history. I think you're right.
Yeah. And I was like, this guy's just like breaking records for the franchise and for the MLB, just doing what he does. And he's a great guy to be around in the clubhouse, and he's such a good hitter, and we're excited to watch him every at bat.
So I want to ask you, I ask everybody these same 3 questions, sort of like career moment type questions. So the first one would be, what was your welcome to the MLB sort of moment?
It was probably my first game. I got up there, and it's my first plate appearance, and the whole crowd's like, it's like a standing ovation. Like everyone's standing up cheering, and I'm like, this is like, you don't get that in the minor leagues. Like they just cheer when you come up to the plate, but in the big leagues, they introduce you as you're going up to the plate, and the whole crowd just gets like how it was for the playoffs. It's that loud. You're like, what the heck? So yeah, it was definitely weird, but it was definitely like wow, this is the big leagues now.
What has been your most memorable play on the field?
Most memorable play? I don't know. I
hitting or fielding, I guess.
I feel like for me, it'd be a defensive play like this year, like making a diving play to prevent a run being scored, just because it's satisfying for me knowing that I help a pitcher out, like saving a run or saving some pitches. Like now I can go out for another inning, like. Because when you go back in the dugout and he's like, hey, like, thank you, like, it's gratifying for me to see that. I try and help him out as much as possible.
And what's a moment that stands out to you that has taken place off the field with teammates?
Probably one of our team dinners. Some of the guys got together, like had a team dinner they paid for, and it was just like a fun group thing, because we haven't really been able to do that recently. And it was fun to get back together as a team and do something off the field, because last year or so we haven't really been able to do that. So like a team dinner that we can all do, have some fun, eat some food and drink or whatever.
So Kyle, there's a lot going on in baseball right now, and the game itself is changing. The game of baseball is changing, and how it's portrayed and all of that. And especially, recently, the unwritten rules of baseball have come up a lot. There's a lot of talk about what's right, what's wrong, new school versus old school. So if you were commissioner for a day, what is one thing you would change or implement to make the game of baseball more exciting?
That's interesting. I think we're trying to do a bunch of stuff now, like the extra inning runner and like modifying the balls a little bit. It's kind of tough.
Do you like
Because
the
like
extra
you don't
inning
want
rule?
to make the bags closer because there's a bunch of close plays.
Right.
I think like changing the baseballs would like make it the biggest difference in the game. Just because
change it like back to what it was, because it clearly they said they changed it this year, and it has clearly made a big difference. And I think all these no hitters, that plays a huge factor. I think a lot of strikeouts. So would you like to see a change back? I mean, I think we have a little bit of a problem here with the baseball.
Yeah, I know there's a bunch of like controversial stuff, whether you should make the baseballs better or worse or whatever. But I mean, it's not like you can tell like the pitchers to throw the ball like not as hard. You can't make the bases closer, like the field closer or further. So I think like the baseball, whether you should make it smaller, like laces higher or something, I think that would obviously change the game, as you've seen this year and in recent years. So I think honestly, I think that's the biggest part that changes it probably the most.
All right, before I let you go, you stream on Twitch, not often in season, not any in season, but we've played COD together and with Jake Marisnik and that group of guys. The question I have for you is, you stream and you play it so often. How are you not any better at Call of Duty than you are?
Oh man, I've actually been trying to like re-download so I have like my PC. I just keep it at home because I didn't want to take it with me on during the season. But I have my PlayStation. I was trying to like re-download it so I could play with some of the guys, but it like wasn't downloading. I was like, whatever. But I don't play it as much. Like I don't bring video games on the road with me, just because I want to sleep and be well rested for the next day rather than playing
to the wee hours of the morning, getting pissed off
3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
Who's
better, you or Marisnik?
Oh, me. No, Jake's got nothing on it.
All right, Kyle. Well, we'll have to play again soon. Thanks so much, man, for joining me. I really appreciate it, and good luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. You're welcome back anytime. I appreciate it. All right, and thank you again to Astros outfielder Kyle Tucker for joining me. Much appreciated. Let's get right in to my favorite segment we do, the hotline questions, where you guys can call in. So get those questions in weekly at 213-537-9339. They can get asked on the episode. So Rick, hit me with that first voicemail of this week.
Hey, Ben, love the show. This is George from Richmond. Got a question for you to answer for people in the Big Apple. What is more likely to happen? Aaron Boone not returning as manager in New York, or Jacob deGrom matching Bob Gibson's 1.12 ERA in 1962? Thanks.
Whoa. George, thank you for calling. Good question. So what do I think is more likely? Aaron Boone being out as the Yankees manager, or Jacob deGrom going under Bob Gibson's ERA record? Now, my first thought here is, Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone, it's the New York Yankees with this roster again and again and again, not achieving a championship. And then this year to be, they're playing better, but to be a third place team at this point in the year is unacceptable. It's also unacceptable, getting swept by the Detroit Tigers. Unacceptable. So my first answer that comes to mind is Aaron Boone. But let me be honest about something. Jacob deGrom, at this point in the year, still has a sub-1 ERA. A .80. 0.80 ERA in the big leagues. That is insane. Now look, if there's any year for it to get done, it's this one. The balls have been changed, lots of no-hitters, lots of outs, lowest batting average and forever amongst players. But look, that Bob Gibson ERA is just, I believe, especially with baseball the way it is today, with hitters being as good as they can be, an untouchable record. So this may come back to bite me in the ass, but I'm going to take Aaron Boone as the answer of the thing that happens first, and that Aaron Boone is more likely to be out as Yankees manager. Rick, hit me with the second voicemail.
Hello, Ben. Valencia here. My question to you is about playoff teams. We see teams dominate in the regular season, but as soon as they hit the playoffs, they choke. Is there that much of a difference between playoff pressure and playoff experience? I think back to the 2001 Mariners and the historic regular season that ended in a first-round exit. But on the flip side, you have the 2020 Astros, who backed into the playoffs and ended up one game away from the World Series. The whole playoff dynamic in baseball is just fascinating to me. Thanks for answering my question. Love the podcast. Bye.
Great question, Valencia. Thanks for the call. So yeah, playoff baseball is a total different beast. It's a different game than the regular season. And you brought up two great examples. And I'll raise you this. This year in Major League Baseball is one of the most exciting years that I can remember in a while. And we have a lot of teams that are going to be making that playoff push, that are going to get into the playoffs, that don't have a ton of experience, as well as teams that get in that do have that experience. I think of the Chicago White Sox. I think of the San Diego Padres, two of the best teams in baseball. But I also think of teams that are probably going to get in, like the Houston Astros, that do have that experience. And teams that, could still get in the Red Sox or the Yankees that do have that experience. So we're going to get this culmination in the playoffs this year of a bunch of young, really exciting teams that don't have that experience and a bunch of teams that do. And those teams that don't necessarily have that experience are probably the better team than the teams that do. So you're right. It is a total different beast, and there's so much pressure. You're on national TV every single game. I've talked to my brother about pitching in the playoffs. He says every pitch you throw, every inning you throw is basically like pitching 2 innings. It's that much more stressful. It's that much more strenuous on your arm. And you put that much more pressure on yourself. So guys that have been there before, teams that have been there, teams that have veterans that have been through it and can talk you through it and know when you hit adversity that's naturally going to come, how to push through it in the playoffs. Because when you hit adversity in the regular season, you have a few games and it's gone and you're back on track. You don't have that luxury in the playoffs. When you hit adversity in the playoffs, it can be out of there. It can be 2-3 games and it's over. You got to figure it out in the moment. And having those veterans, those guys that have that experience, I think is a huge, huge, huge benefit in the playoffs. So thank you so much for that question. Both of those questions, thank you for calling in. Make sure you're getting in those questions, guys. If you want to be part of this show with me, get those questions into 213-537-9339, and they can get answered on the pod. So thank you again for getting those in this week. But let's get in to this week in Shohei Ohtani news. My favorite player in baseball. I talk about him all the time. Why? For good reason, man. Every time that somebody's doing something that hasn't been done in 100 years, it should probably be talked about. And that's what I do here. I talk about Ohtani because he deserves to be talked about. What did he do this week? Earlier in the week, he hits a home run at 117 miles an hour. An absolute laser beam off the bat in Anaheim. Crushed it. Let me give you a stat here. Shohei Ohtani hit the hardest home run the other night at 117 miles an hour in Angels since 2015 in the Angels. So nobody has hit a home run harder than Shohei Ohtani in 6 years in the entire Angels organization. Think about who's there. 1, Mike Trout, the obvious one, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, potentially. I think so. Hasn't hit a homer that hard. Albert Pujols, one of the greatest of all times towards the end of his career, but the guy can still mash some homers. In 2015, Albert's a different player back then. Some newer guys, Anthony Rendon hadn't been there long, but these guys have had some guys in the organization that are greats, all-time greats. Shohei Ohtani the other night hits a harder home run than has been hit in that organization in 6 years. Absolutely incredible. Then, fast forward to later in the week when Shohei Ohtani is supposed to start on the mound. We hear Ohtani is scratched. When I first hear that Shohei Ohtani is scratched from the start, my mind goes in a blender. I get upset. Something's not right. I think the entire baseball world here is in fear that Ohtani and what we are seeing today is going to become derailed because of injury. So we're all on like pins and needles when we hear stuff like that. It later comes out that Ohtani missed his start because of traffic. There was an accident up in San Francisco. They were playing in Oakland. An accident on the Bay Bridge. Shohei Ohtani is taking the last bus to the field. He's that day's starting pitcher, so you take the last bus. He's on the last bus. They run into an accident, so they avert plans. They try and find another mode of transportation. They take the wrong route. They go the wrong way. Shohei Ohtani shows up to the stadium too late to start. He still hits in this game, but he can't start because of a traffic jam. But then the next day comes. So the start gets pushed back another day. He ends up starting the very next day. All is well in the world. Things are fine. Ohtani's throwing great the next day. He's on the mound. He's pitching great, punching guys out, hadn't given up a run. And then all of a sudden, he throws one up and in to Mark Canha. Fastball up and in. Canha doesn't love it. Doesn't love it. Mouths off a little bit out there saying, hey, blah, blah, blah. You know, whatever he said. I'm sure there were some expletives involved. Probably. Ohtani probably didn't even understand him. But he just stood there and smiled as tensions flared. The benches cleared. Both teams come running out, you know, as they always do when stuff like that happens. And Ohtani just stood out there and smiled and like waved and said, I'm sorry. Canha ended up saying, I think he overreacted a little bit, but Suzuki, the catcher, got in his face. And I think that kind of escalated everything. But Ohtani's reaction out on the mound was incredible. And, I took to Twitter and talked about this and to Instagram, and people said, well, he threw 90 some miles an hour at his face. Like, what would you have done? I'll tell you what I would have done. If Shohei Ohtani threw 98 miles an hour at my face, I would have apologized to Shohei Ohtani for my face being there. That's how much I love Shohei Ohtani. So a lot went on with Ohtani this week. I love the guy. That is this week in Shohei Ohtani news. Let's move on to a poll we gave you guys on Twitter this weekend. We talked about the best pitchers in the American League. It was sent out from the Flippin Bats pod Twitter and Instagram accounts. So if you don't follow those, you got to get on. What are you doing? But the poll was sent out. Who's the best pitcher in the American League? Gave you 4 options. Garrett Cole, Shane Bieber, Tyler Glasnow, friend of the pod, and someone else. Let's look at how that turned out. Garrett Cole, 47.8% was the winner. Shane Bieber, 21.8%. Someone else, 17.6%. Tyler Glasnow, 13.4%. Now, I did vote for Garrett Cole. I think Garrett Cole is the best pitcher in the American League. But what I want to talk about is the someone else category. Who's in that category, you might ask? John Means, big name, big guy that I believe is getting a lot of votes for the Baltimore Orioles. Really coming on the scene, has been a great pitcher for a while now, and this year is having an incredible year, has thrown a no-hitter. And another one on that list that I think is getting some votes, Carlos Rodon of the Chicago White Sox, also having a great year, who I think should be in this top 3 discussion. I think we are having so many pitchers emerge this year as great pitchers, and Carlos Rodon, one of the best of those stories. But still, to me, and my AL prediction of who's going to win the Cy Young was Tyler Glasnow. Tyler Glasnow, first guest on this show. The pod luck is a real thing. Come on this show, you play great baseball. Tyler Glasnow is playing fantastic baseball, and if I still had to vote for somebody that I think would win the Cy Young, I still think he's a great bet here. So this was a fun poll this week. Garrett Cole running away with almost half of the vote, which I feel like is pretty fair. But a good discussion in the American League pitcher race is an incredible one. Some insane arms in the American League. But it is the first of the month, and you know what that means. I give out my top 5 power rankings in all of Major League Baseball in the first of the month. And we'll start with number 5, San Francisco Giants. Man, this team, and we talked about it, this team surprised me this weekend. Impressed me, I should say. They go into Los Angeles, they win 3 of 4 games, 3 of 4 great games, to a Dodgers team that is getting healthier. They got Cody Bellinger back for the Saturday and Sunday games. Obviously, it's his first games back. I don't think we're seeing peak Cody Bellinger right now, but this is a statement series for the Giants, and it was huge of them to go into LA and win that series, and they're right behind the Padres in the division. 4th, we got the Boston Red Sox. Look, they've been playing great baseball from the start of the year until now. They're 1 and 2 in that division. They're right back and forth in 1st and 2nd place in that division, playing great, hitting bombs. This team's fun. This team is offensively very, very good. I think they're a pitching piece or 2 away from being elite in the American League. Speaking of elite in the American League, my 3rd on the power rankings this week, the Tampa Bay Rays. Look, they do it every year. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And the Rays are one of, if not the hottest team in baseball. They have climbed their way up this division, find themselves in 1st place in the division right now, with a roster that you look at again and again and again and say, is this team gonna win the AL East? No. Is this team gonna win the American League? No. What do? They win the American League last year, they're winning the American League East right now, and they are playing incredible baseball. 2nd on my power rankings this week, the Chicago White Sox. Man, these guys are so fun to watch. If you're not watching this team, they do everything well. Coming into this season, I loved their offense. Loved it. Look at their rotation now this year. We just talked about Carlos Rodon. He's not even the guy. He's not even one of their top 3 guys, really. And he's in the discussion for one of the best pitchers in the American League this year. They got Lucas Giolito at the top. They got Dallas Keuchel. They got Lance Lynn. They got Carlos Rodon. They have all of these guys that are going out and giving them great starts night in and night out. And that's why they're winning these baseball games, along with, and pair that with, an exciting electric offense at the top. These guys are fun. These guys are exciting. And they are an American League favorite for sure. Let's move over to the National League for my number 1 spot in the power rankings right now, the San Diego Padres. Man, these guys are electric. That's probably my favorite word in Major League Baseball this year, electric. And the Padres embody that. Fernando Tatis Jr. embodies that. This team is so fun. They're on an absolute tear. They're on a roll. They're in my number 1 spot in the power rankings. They went up to Los Angeles earlier this year, proved they can beat the Dodgers on the road. The sky's the limit for this team. I'm excited for the National League West and this battle we're gonna get out there, not only with the Padres and the Dodgers, but also with the San Francisco Giants, who I talked about earlier in my number 5 team. But the Padres is my number 1 team in this week's power rankings in all of Major League Baseball. Speaking of the Padres, however, it is time for my 6th tool player of the week. And this one is special because it is the first ever 2-time winner of this award, and it could not be more deserved. Fernando Tatis Jr., shortstop for the San Diego Padres, is the first ever 2-time winner of the 6th tool player of the week. This guy, since coming off of the IL, he was on the, he's been on the COVID IL. He was on the IL for an injury. He has come back and just been dominant, man. This guy, who I've talked about as being the face of Major League Baseball, is becoming that in front of our eyes. Have a big series this week in Houston. He goes down there, he hits a homer in seemingly every game of the series. He hits a huge home run in the first game of the series off the facing of the wall in Houston, and just stands there and looks at it. And there's the coolest picture in the world of him just holding his bat, admiring his work. And if you look back behind him, the umpire's kind of admiring his work too, as we all should be admiring this guy's work. Then he hits another one later in the series, 2 outs, 9th inning, down by a few runs. He hits a pop-up to the right side in foul territory. That was probably gonna end the game. First baseman misplays it, gives him another chance. Next thing you know, of course, bomb to left field. He rounds the bases. He does that cool stutter step around third base, which I could have never dreamed of doing. It's just so cool. I'm never that cool in my life. But also, another thing that happened this week with Tatis, and normally I wouldn't talk about a getting out of the way of a hit by pitch, but I need you guys to see this. There's a pitch thrown near Fernando Tatis, and he avoided this baseball in a way that I've never seen done before. I've been around a lot of baseball, played baseball for a long, long time in my life. Fernando Tatis is out of this world, I think. Look at this. He does the splits, he flings his leg, it seemingly looks like out of place, and then does the splits. And everybody's talking about it. I'm like, what are we talking about? Fernando Tatis got out of the way of a hit by pitch. And then I watched it. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's incredible. So Fernando Tatis is incredible. And oftentimes I've talked about him becoming the face of baseball, and recently said that I think he is the face of baseball. And as you guys know, I've had my producer Davis on here a couple times now to talk about Tatis. And at the beginning of the year, the discussion was Tatis, Mookie Betts. Let me tell you guys something. I put out a poll the other day. A few thousand people voted on who is the face of baseball. Fernando Tatis, 50% of the vote. Mike Trout, 30-some%. Producer Davis's pick, Mookie Betts, 2% of the vote. I call that a victory, my friend. And that is this week's 6-tool player of the week, Fernando Tatis Jr. And that wraps it up for this week on Flippin Bats. What a fun episode. What an absolute blast. Thank you guys for listening and checking it out. And again, make sure you're following on all socials. It's getting fun on there. We put up polls that we're now featuring on the show. So make sure you're following Flippin Bats Pod on all social media, but also make sure you're hitting that subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever it may be. And you can even watch the episode on YouTube. So thank you guys for listening, and I will see you next time on Flippin Bats.
It's a blowout. 8th inning, 10-3. Bases are loaded for Verlander, who waits on a 3-0 pitch. He swings, and it's a high fly ball, deep center field. It is gone! Home run! And a huge bat flip to celebrate.
Thanks for watching. If you love Flippin Bats, swinging 3-0, or just talking ball, join us. Call us at 213-537-9339 with your questions. We have a weekly guest, and we have a lot of fun, so hit that subscribe button.